On this video after close trade Wednesday 26th of June 2013. Going to do something different today. Let's talk about three different charts trying to make bottoms. Apple, gold and silver, kind of compare and contrast them. It's prompted by this very nice email from Harry G. Hi, can you look at Apple with your charts, give us your interpretation. But just before doing that, let's just talk really quickly about today's activity. Just pulling up the 45-minute, the 135-minute and the daily chart. Remember, there's a factor of 3 difference between these. So 3 times 45 minutes gives you 135 minutes. 3 times 135 minutes gives you a trading day, which I think is 405 minutes during the trading day. It's just like the the 500, 1500, 4500 tip bar charts, just using a factor of 3 to zero in on what's going on. So we definitely sold off kind of over the last week, and you can see the exhaustion patterns that we've made on the daily and the 135-minute chart here. Exhaustion down here, kind of giving us pro-signal exit and so on. We've got this bullish divergence that's coming on the 135-minute chart, and it's very close to the zero line here. And what I normally say is, when you get a divergence pattern like that, look for a push back down, a test back down, which will end up being some kind of flush pattern where the volume selling is kind of not as extreme as the exhaustion selling, but it's somewhere between these two kind of points. So that those flush patterns, they come up as yellow, big yellow dots on my chart. So, and what's interesting is another kind of principle, we're talking about trend moves in lower time frames being equivalent to cycle moves in higher time frames. Now, we've overshot our cycle support, the pullback level here on the daily chart, but somewhere that is a resting point where we're going to have a stronger rally would be where we put in our end of trend sequence on the 45-minute chart. So the 45-minute chart on the way down, this is where we broke down into this move. We've still got to make pullback to end of trend, and I still think we're going to have a fairly big reading on exhaustion selling kind of down here. So looking for that pullback to end of trend, and let's see where it ends up over the next day, day and a half. And then the other thing to zero in on today's activity, it was amateur up bar here on Pro, on the daily charts here. But this is kind of an interesting little pattern. Normally I don't go in for kind of candlestick type stuff, and I don't, to be honest, know the name of this one, but I think it's showing a little bit of uncertainty. So definitely got a little bit of a doji going on here, where the open and close is very similar. We've also got the move to the highs and move to the lows is quite similar. It's symmetrical, if you like, there. The other thing to note is the low of today is above the high of yesterday. So there's a small little gap kind of here, but it's kind of left out in the cold there, that little kind of doji pattern, a little bit of a star. So we tried to make a rally back. It's pretty weak in terms of volume. It's kind of a pattern left out in terms of being an island, so it's above the previous high, and we could easily get kind of a gap down if the European markets are weak overnight, a gap down, and we kind of gap and go tomorrow, or kind of overnight into Thursday, into a strong down day. And this thing's kind of left out in the cold, if you like, kind of there. So just kind of curiosity there. We've still got to make bullish divergence on the daily chart here. And as I said, I'm looking for this pullback to end of trend to be made. Anyway, so just wait and see, play the signals, but just curious kind of day, and I don't think necessarily the move to the downside is over. Now, let's talk about gold, silver, and Apple, because they're three markets in different phases of trying to make a bottom. And the reason we know they're trying to make a bottom is we've got all kinds of pro-signal professional bars kind of going off at the lows. We've got exhaustion selling going on. We've got bullish divergence kind of going on. So what I've just pulled up is just the daily and weekly charts on gold to show you kind of the pattern here. Now gold, this was the breakthrough 1550 here into a strong down to panic going on. All the gold bugs don't understand what's going on. All the conspiracy theory comes out. There's no gold in Fort Knox. The Fed are creating this kind of panic selling in gold, and frankly they're just beside themselves because they can't explain it. Well, it's just a correction move. We made our high up here on the weekly chart, just under shy of $2,000. With exhaustion buying, and now we've got the mirroring going on. This is the exhaustion buying. We're testing kind of bearish divergence, and then we can't make it back up through 1800. Bang, we're collapsing back down. Now we're coming back down to where the original breakout level was into this really strong trend in 2010. So it's around this level. There's the breakout level, and you can see the levels that we've reached here at 1200. We're down big time, 40% from the highs. So it's a time where people are going to come in and start to get interested in picking up a bit of a value play. So we're at that types of levels. We've got our exhaustion selling, we've got our bullish divergence kind of coming in here on the weekly chart, and you can see all the blue professional bars kind of going off with all the selling that's going on at the moment. I haven't turned on a better pro-am intrabar, but I have turned on, this is better momentum kind of intrabar, so you can see what the current reading is kind of mid this week on better momentum. So it's going to make some kind of flush pattern, I think, with this week's activity, next week's activity. We've also got a cyclical support kind of coming in here. This was the damage that we did on the left shoulder. We came and test back down, pull back to end of trend, bullish divergence here. We were looking for something a little bit steeper. We've got this. We kind of lurched down a couple of times, back through that low, and then again down here. Now, panicking people, so it's like the weak hands are selling, they're saying I don't know what's going on, but I've just had enough, and all these blue professional bars kind of come. Now we're starting to make a base. We've kind of lurched down here. This is the kind of activity that you look at where you start to see markets reversing, because we've got panic selling going on. We're starting to see bullish divergence patterns here. We're kind of flushing people out and so on. So it's the signal after this will be some base building where we're testing back down. And I talked about this last time I had a video on gold, was talking about if this was going to be the low, what we would see on the daily chart over a series of days would be testing back into the lows with amateur down bars in order to show that there was a lack of supply, a lack of selling going on. The amateurs were just kind of sick of the pain. They were trying to get out at the lows, and then you get a break through a resistance level into an uptrend. What we had instead was we had amateur up bars, one here, one here, one here, another one here. So it just wasn't looking right. So that's why we kind of lurched through. The amateurs were a little bit too early. And of course with this activity, I mean, they're panicked. So it's the type of activity where we're starting to see a kind of climactic collapse. The next thing to watch for is then amateur testing over the next several weeks, and then a break through a resistance level into an uptrend. The other thing to note is on the monthly chart, all these charts I'm going to show you on gold, silver, and Apple, is on the monthly chart we're kind of coming close to a cyclical support. I think with silver we're kind of past it, gold we're close to it, Apple we're coming up to it. So I've not put on the monthly chart just because I don't want to make things too kind of confusing here. Alright, next one, so that's gold. Silver, so they're going to move fairly closely together. Again, top in silver, here we go. Exhaustion buying into 50, all the blue professional bars kind of come in. And now we've got the mirroring action, we've got the exhaustion selling on the downside. And we put in our pullback to end of trend with amateur up bars. We're looking for something of a similar kind of pattern on the way down. So this was the panic selling. We broke through 30. That was an important psychological level where we'd bounced kind of previously. When we sliced through that with that blue professional bar falling through the ice, we're into a downtrend on this weekly chart. We need to put in those kind of good patterns. The bullish divergence, we need to see exhaustion selling. Done this intra-bar on the weekly chart here, so we're potentially putting in a bullish divergence kind of here. Whether this has got to run pullback to end of trends, possibly on the weekly chart, but we've got cyclical support on the monthly chart kind of coming in. And again, the same kind of thing. This was the panic selling as we went through 30s here. We put in some more blue professional bars here. We've been building this base, and so when these things start to line up like this, always look for a shock, some kind of flushing pattern here. Definitely getting it with the last couple of days activity here. Look at the amount of selling that's kind of going on. But this is the kind of activity we need to see in order to build a base. And then again, same thing on the daily chart. We probably need to see a little pullback to end of trend sequence here, testing down, and then a break above resistance level. So we've got a long ways to go in terms of building this base, but we're starting to get to the price levels that are causing kind of climactic selling, and amateurs just getting panicked out of this, and the professionals are thinking, well, it was at 50, now it's 18. Apple, here we go, Harry. Let's talk about Apple. So what's different about this? What's kind of the same? So on the weekly chart in terms of Apple, we did max out finally. I mean, this whole trend in Apple was extraordinary. You can see we had a pullback to end of trend here, we had another one here, we had the third one here on these weekly charts. Each time it got weaker and weaker. I mean, it was an incredibly strong move. And all better sine wave is telling you that's the end of that trending activity. And then after this one we go through a little bit of basing, and then we build another base, and then we break into another trend activity. So just because we have 3 end of trends in a row doesn't mean that the end of trends didn't work. It just meant that that trend sequence was over for the time being until we started to build into another one, and so on. Now, okay, this time around at 700, psychologically, there's been so much buying by the the general public into Apple. We're down at less than 400 now. And getting back at any time, getting back into this kind of levels up here, up to 700, there's going to be selling going on. The question is, have we panicked out all of the amateurs, so they're just out of their stock entirely, and they're just not interested anymore, so that there's going to be no resistance on the way back up? I don't think so, because we had a lot of buying kind of going in here. I think when you look at all the hedge fund kind of reports of the first quarter of this year, they all got out of their positions. They took profits into this move. The people that weren't taking profits were the mums and dads, unfortunately. They've just been holding all the way down. So now any kind of move back up, they'll be selling. Have they sold on this kind of collapse down to 400? I don't think so. Here's the exhaustion buying, the type of levels that we were seeing in terms of moving up into this, and we've not seen a mirroring pattern on the way down. Gold and silver, they've been flushed out, but they haven't been flushed out of Apple. So it's going to be hard work for Apple anytime making it on the way back up. Now, have we seen blue professional bars kind of in at the lows? Well, we saw one kind of pick it up at 450, kind of down here. But these last kind of moves down, compare this to gold and silver. We've got a bunch of blue professional bars on the weekly chart, a couple here on silver. It's like, we saw professional bars kind of getting out of the stop between 700 and 550 here. But in these last kind of pushes down into 400, as yet, we've not seen it on the weekly chart. Got a little bit kind of going on the daily chart here. This definitely freaked people out. Definitely kind of freaking people out, coming back to 400 kind of into here. So we could definitely see a base being built around here, but I think it's got a different character for me. It's like Apple, I don't think is going to be hard work on the way back up. Gold and silver, I think we've flushed out those sellers with those exhaustion patterns. Look at these on the weekly chart on gold and silver, and we've not seen that on equities yet. So it's kind of wait and see. I think it's at the kind of level where we could definitely get a bounce in Apple, but I don't think it's going to be into the building of a new trend. I think it's just going to be hard work on the way back up. Now, remember as well, there's strong correlation. All the equities kind of moved together somewhere between kind of, I don't know, you see numbers between 50 and 70%, 75% R-square type correlations between all the stocks. To some extent, Apple's been kind of going against the flow ever since it kind of topped up at 700. While the equity market was moving up, Apple was moving down. So if the equity market kind of sells off over the autumn period, is Apple going to buck the trend and just break into an uptrend? Kind of unlikely. Building a base for sure, and 400, people are thinking it's kind of good value. Again, it could easily get a technical bounce up to, if you bounced up to 500, you're sitting on a 25% gain. So we got some blue professional bars coming in on the daily chart, but I haven't seen any on the weekly chart. We've not got our exhaustion selling pattern here. Kind of wait and see. It's due for a little bit of a bounce, but I don't think it's going to be as strong as people might think. There we go. Anyway, so 3 different kind of markets, kind of building a little bit of a base, ready for. But wait. We've got to see those testing. We've got to see those break of resistance levels into uptrends before it's worth kind of jumping on board. And that's the hardest thing to do. It's just to sit on your hands and not do anything. So anyway, hope your trading is going well.